Hey everybody, this is herculespetix, founder, curator, docent, and gift shop employee of the herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies. Today we're going to be looking at The Greatest of Marlys by Lynda Barry, collecting, I believe, most or all of the Marlys strips from her great comic strip, Ernie Pook's Comique. These began in the 80s. I used to read Ernie Pook's Comique in the local Tucson free paper, the one with local news and all the listings for bands playing and shows. But mainly, it was all about the sex ads in the back, the classifieds. But every week, I looked forward to it. And this is like probably 86 maybe, when I first moved to Tucson. And I was a comic fan. And, at first I looked at the art and was like, this woman draws crazy. This is kind of ugly looking. But as I read them, I fell in love with them. And she had some of her strips blew me away at the time, where like they were so moving and just almost profound. I wasn't used to that in 1986. I mean, I was just starting to get comics like The Watchmen, I guess. But and I had some undergrounds, and but man, this was something totally different. Lynda Barry is amazing to me. I think she's one of the best writers ever in comics. Her art is an acquired taste, but just like Aileen Kaminsky Crumb, it's so perfect for these stories. No other art would do, and the more you read these, you just it's not like it's pretty art, but it's so perfect for the stories that you end up loving it. And also, she's one of those artists, like a lot of people who don't necessarily draw well, quote unquote. She's funny as hell. I don't know. She cracks me up, this character Marlys. The way she draws all these characters, it's just funny looking. They just make me laugh just looking at them sometimes. And this is a really nice collection that Drawn and Quarterly put out in 2016. Really nice, big, fat book. Hardcover, really nice binding and paper. It's just a beautiful all-around production. Sorry, I'm going to chuckle a lot. Just looking at Marlys makes me laugh. We have these really nice end papers. Oh, I guess I took off this... these things, they're like paper cummerbunds. They have a few reviews and they slip on the back cover. And I don't like them, and yet I'm such a weirdo. I can never throw them away. So I have a few books with these things. But it's hard to put it back on once you take it off. So I'm just going to leave it as a bookmark in here. I'll put it aside for now. I love these end papers of just Marlys in her various antics. They even have a book plate. And here we see the seasons every month, and Marlys is showing off the month, if you will. We have a title page. Even the indicia page, she draws some fun stuff on it. And the book is like split up into little kind of chapters, even though they're very loose. So, it'll be like Singing Marlys. And there'll be a couple of comics about Singing Marlys, but there'll also be many comics that have nothing to do with her singing. So we start off with this a new comic that Lynda Barry did for this edition, explaining kind of the art of creation, of how she created Marlys. And if you've ever seen Lynda Barry talk about creativity and creating art, making art, it's really interesting just how like her process of just like letting ideas come to her and just letting them flow out of her hand and not think about it too much. The same way little kids, when they draw, they just get so into it. They make up these little stories in their head, and they're like, here's a cowboy, and here's an astronaut, and they're fighting, and blah, blah, blah. So she said she just drew Marlys one day. This was the first time she drew her. This is a recreation of it. And this was in 1986. And it's just kind of like, she couldn't fight it. It just came out of her. She wasn't thinking about it too much. But pretty soon, very quickly, this whole character came to her. And she knew this character almost instantly. just from drawing her a few times. And she came up with all of her, her sisters and her cousins. This whole group of kids just came to her. And it's pretty remarkable because these kids are amazing characters. Lynda Barry's so good at characterization, and it's kind of amazing that it just, I don't know, it was like gifted to her by the muse or something. And so the very first strip she wrote about Marlys, which we were about to read, she was remembering an incident from her childhood when all of her and her siblings and her cousins all got sick the same night and just started puking. So this is her comic about it. The night we all got sick. And all the kids go to a carnival. They all eat stupid food like cotton candy and nasty carnival dogs. And we see here Marlys. We see her brother Freddie. We see her cousin Arna, who's the narrator of a lot of these early ones. It's almost her strip. She's always talking about her cousin Marlys and her brother Arno. And she just, everyone starts puking. And I guess they were staying at their grandparents. And so they all rocked them to sleep and took care of them. And ever since then, all the foods that they ate, they could never even think about again without getting sick and nauseous. And here, once again, like I said, most of the early strips are narrated by Arna. So this is them going off to school. She's so amazing at capturing these memories of childhood that you forgot, that were so important when you were a child. Like, I remember going to school and you'd have the new teacher and your older brothers would tell you about them. It was almost like this, you didn't know what to believe. Like, oh, you have Mrs. Simpson next year. Oh, she's terrible. She does this. So you're dreading it all summer. You're like, she's going to be my teacher. And I just totally forgot about it. That was such a big thing in our life. Here's just her talking about all the dogs in her neighborhood. That's Arna's like main thing. She loves dogs. Definitely more than she loves people, or at least feels more comfortable about them. She's also, Lynda Barry's a master at capturing the diction of children. These are all written as if you were talking to an 8-9-year-old kid or an 8-year-old kid. Like, she never uses words that an 8-year-old kid wouldn't use. Yet it's so funny, just because the way kids describe things. Here's another thing too, like talking about all the people in the neighborhood, how every family has that one weird thing that they eat that nobody else eats, like jelly on spaghetti, mustard and onion and relish sandwiches, this one family. Weird ethnic dishes that, sardines and Cool Whip. And then they're, and I remember this is talking about how no food tastes better than the food you eat at your school desk when there's a special day, and they're like, oh, everyone gets cupcakes today, and you can eat them at your desk. That was just this magical thing. So it was just amazing. Here's the kids throw a carnival. And we see Marlys's character. She's literally writing down all their transgressions, everything they do for the carnival, they're planning. She's like, I'm going to tell Mom. Mom won't like that. I'm going to tell her. You're not supposed to do that. And then they realize to shut her up. They're like, hey, you should be the queen of the carnival. And they're all like telling her like, yeah, it'll be amazing. And you could sing for us. Everyone loves your singing. And they're all buttering her up. And Marlys just freaks out and says, I hate you all, and starts screaming. And then runs off. So that's what we quickly realize about Lynda Barry's world. It's not all like sweetness and light, like cute memories of being a kid. There's just all those weird moments of being a kid too, where some kid or some adult would do something and you were just like, what the fuck happened? And you'll never understand the rest of your life. You'll never really understand why that person did that. At the end, Arna says, after that, we realized it was a lot better for Marlys if you just kept treating her like you hated her guts. So, I just love that. I love this one where Arna finds the weird secret journal of her brother Arnold. Her brother Arnold's kind of a typical boy, you know. And it's this weird fantasy, kids fantasy, and it's just like so perfect. Like he's on a ship that gets blown up, but he's saved by a half shark, half dolphin who brings him to a deserted island. And then some movie starlet on a surfboard comes to the island. It's just total like fever dream fantasy of his. And just the weird feeling she has reading this, like realizing that her brother's just like, whoa, he's a weirdo. Here's the talent show. This is what I'm talking about, like the way she draws funny. This dog's freaking out. It just cracks me up. I've seen dogs do that when they're just vibrating in excitement, and it's so funny. So all the kids, do really dumb talent shows things. Like Arnold does, he does acting from his favorite movie, and he's just going around saying, "I want to suck your blood." That was his talent. Worst haircuts. Probably a lot of kids can relate to that, where Arna and Marlys get haircuts from Marlys's mom. We realize from reading these strips, you barely see Marlys's mom, but whenever she shows up, she's not a good mom. She seems like a drunk. She seems like she's always just gallivanting off with random men. And, I'm sorry, that's Arna's mom, sorry. Marlys's mom, she's just an old grouch. Her husband left her. So she's a single mom. She's kind of bitter and just doesn't seem like a great mom. Just chain smoking all the time. So she's drunk, giving them haircuts, and they're horrible, as you can see here. So for the rest of, even in summertime, they wore hoodies. That's how bad their hair was. I wish I could slow down. There's so many of these, I gotta kind of speed through them. But just the dialect is so good, capturing, the way kids talk. And then there's these ones that are just hit you in the gut. How Marlys wants to go to this popular girl's birthday party. She's like the only girl not invited. Arna is her cousin. But that night of the party, Arna gets sick. So the mother says, well, you should give your invitation to Marlys. And she says, Mom, that girl doesn't want Marlys at her party. Trust me. And she's like, oh, you're just being mean. And so Marlys goes to the party, and she's just brought to tears. She comes home crying. The popular girl wouldn't even open her present. She wouldn't even take it. Just the cruelty of being the cruelty of children, It's they can be pretty fucking mean. I like too how they also show these adults who supposedly think they know better. And a lot of times they probably do, but also sometimes they don't. And this kid brings a science project in. It's a grasshopper that he trained to smoke a cigar. It's just a fake cigar, of course. But the teacher just is like, that's cruel. In fact, I want you to release that grasshopper into the field outside. God, the way she draws her so hideously. But I think that's how we saw our teachers. It's almost this expressionist way of drawing where, yeah, she probably didn't look this hideous, but when we were kids, the teachers we didn't like, that's how we saw them. This one's kind of sad, though. This teacher, she's all... Remember that old saw about, oh, Coca-Cola is so bad for you. If you put a hunk of meat in it, it'll dissolve from the acid and the, acidity of Coca-Cola. So she put a hot dog in this thermos full of Coca-Cola. And at the end, the next day, the hot dog looks fine. And Arna says, for some reason, all of us knew this was about the saddest thing we had ever seen, especially Mrs. Brogan. This is so funny, this one. It's all about how kids are so fascinated by Ripley's Believe It or Not. I definitely was. So I also wanted to say, So Lynda Barry is born in 56. She's like 11 years older than me, but it seems like she definitely has a lot of that same baby boomer experience that I had. You know, kind of like hippies were really cool. All us kids looked and were like kind of idolized hippies as like, oh man, but we were too young. And also, you know, like watching sitcoms and shitty TV. But yeah, that was a thing. Every kid I knew was fascinated by rippers, believe it or not. And it is so ridiculous. A man who plays pool with his nose, the baby Cyclops, a man with long arms. And so all of the kids dream of being in the book, which I remember we were like that. We would think about like what we could do to get in Ripley's. And these are just ridiculous. Like Arna could fit a lot of marbles in her mouth. Found 2 M&Ms stuck together. Arnold jumped off the porch 37 times without stopping. Freddie caught 19 bees in 1 jar. Just so silly. This is about the Sears catalog, which you youngins don't remember. That was a big deal, ordering things from the Sears catalog. All kind of fun little stories about the crazy toys they get. When you get one of those baby dolls that can drink and wet itself, don't put milk in it. You might think you're doing something nice, but for the baby, but it starts to smell. More Sears catalog stories, showing all the weird toys and things you could buy in the Sears catalog. I once saw a compilation, a bootleg video of all the toy commercials from the late 60s and early 70s. And it's so weird that like just watching them, you're like thinking, wow, we were all just waiting for video games to be invented because they're so lame. I had these toys and like, you know, all these board games that you'd play once or twice and be like, okay, I never want to play that again. Throw it in the closet, never to be played again. I got all those toys that they'd just be a slight variation. So just like some of these things, it's like the snow cone machine thing, Mr. Frosty Freeze. I think we all made like 1 or 2, and then we're just like, this sucks. Let's just go to Carvel ice cream. Get a real snow cone or a real ice cream cone. So now we're introduced to Maybone. Maybone is Marlys' older sister. So we get like a look at like an older teenager in that time. And I love how like which I remember I kind of felt like to Marlys and her cousin Arna, Maybone is this mysterious creature. Like her room is almost like this temple that they're never allowed to go into, but they can't help but sneak in, and they always like look at her stuff, and everything she has they find so beautiful and fascinating. They spy on her, and then Arna says the best night of her life was Maybone was grounded for a week, so she was desperate enough to hang out with them, and she actually let him sleep with her in bed, like have a little sleepover, and just how that was like one of the best moments of her childhood. Like I'm hanging out with Maybone, listening to AM radio at 2 a.m. as we go to sleep. All of these little moments she captures that are like such quiet little moments, and it's almost like your average person can't convey them. You know, I'm not an artist. A lot of people aren't artists. If they told you that story, you'd just be like, huh, so you slept with your older cousin? That sounds great. But the way Lynda Barry draws and writes, more importantly, is like you totally remember these amazing little singular moments that kind of should have been lost to time. They're not even that special, but they felt fucking special as hell when you were a kid. These just weird moments. Batons. I remember, God, every girl had the baton when I was a kid. They thought they were so cool, too. Talking about all the kind of bikes you can get with the banana seats and all the stupid shit on them. Talking about kids who have to bring shitty lunches to school because their parents suck and nobody wants to trade them. I like this one with the substitute teacher that they None of them, like, basically Arna's saying, like, oh yeah, none of us like her. She's a weirdo. She has fake teeth that always seem to kind of pop out of her mouth. And it's her last day, and she says, as a special favor to me, children, will you sing my favorite song? And they all stood up and sang it. And she says, and if we hated her so much, how come a lot of us started crying? Just things like that. Like, I remember just doing things when I was a kid or feeling things that didn't make any sense. Class projects about the solar system. Here's Marlys showing us how to draw Thanksgiving turkey using your hand. You know, that thing you used to do in arts and crafts. So now we have winter Marlys, even though they're not all winter Marlys. The holiday bazaar. Oh, this one just is, oh man, I totally remember this. The Christmas pageant. So everyone goes to the school at night, you know, for the Christmas pageant. And I believe it's Arna. Yeah, Arna kind of just runs upstairs and is walking to the school. And she says, she notices how being in your school at night makes everything feel like it's on another planet. And she even sneaks into the boys' restroom. So just doing all, it's like this amazing expedition, you know, when you're a kid. And it is, I remember that being in my school at night for like Cub Scout events or something. It did feel weird walking through the hallways. No one's in them. It's all dark. Very strange. Making those crappy pots for arts class that usually just fell apart. Home ec. I love this, how Marlys and Arna fuck up their recipe. So they position these, like, I think they're cookies, in the position of a cross. Because it's like, no way can they give us less than a B for a cross. That would be like sacrilege. And so every now and then we get these book reports from Freddie, or just his journal entries. And as you notice, he's drawing it like, this isn't Lynda Barry's style. She's drawing it like an 8-year-old boy, or even he's 7, I think, even younger. And this is book reports. These are just funny as hell. Freddie's a little weirdo. He loves nature. It's called What is a Rodent? What was the author trying to say? That rodents are exciting. Drawing for extra credit. This is not a trace. And it so obviously is, because it's better than everything else. This is about like some weird girl who just hangs out by the fences every recess, just holding on to them and bopping back and forth. And she just spits at anyone who gets close to her. But Arna, because she likes dogs. She likes all the cast-offs of the world. And so she always tries to befriend Teresa. And Teresa always spits on her. But Marlys, who's the narrator of this one, is horrified to be like, oh no, she's not spitting on her. She actually says hi, like they're going to be friends. And that means we'll have to be friends with her. And everyone will think we're just as weird as her. That's a huge thing when you're a 8-year-old girl. Here's that teacher from before. They got their little seed projects, you know, making a little bean plant. And she told, it's the last day of school, and she tells the kids what a lovely class they were, and she'll miss them. And she started to cry when she told them to remember to water their beans. Here's the 2 candy stores in town. One's run by this really old mean grouch, and the other one's run by this guy who never says a damn word. I guess his wife left him. Here's a strip about Marlys. Marlys is like a really smart little girl. She's a total pain in the ass. She's a tattletale and a big ego maniac. But she's pretty smart. And she's talented in her way. Pets in our lives about the turtle they had. This is so funny. She's like, this is the best thing to make a museum in our garage. And it's just like the shittiest museum ever. This is the most chewed up pencil in the world. Arm of a chatty Cathy doll. Blood of Arnold from a Band-Aid. A messed up comb from my dad. Of course, Marlys has like, puts up a A+ paper she did a math test. So they for like a summer, they just, as long as the tape held out, they just kept taping shit on the walls, just random stuff. I remember doing stuff that stupid when I was a kid. This one's kind of fun. Bedrooms of Our Dreams. And it's, you know, the 4 main kids here. They're dream bedrooms. And they're, you know, total fantasy things. Almost all of them have a special hatch. An escape hatch. And secret doors. And this one's interesting. It's about this family. Well, this one kid and his family. Nobody even liked him, but they moved away. And when the kids go into the empty house, they're just full of this kind of melancholy and sadness. And they even admit, they're like, well, I think it's Arna's narrating this. She says, yeah, we never liked Louis, but it just seems so unfair that we'll never get to see him for the rest of our entire lives. The Rules of TV. Here's another one that where Arna finds some of Arnold's like secret stash under the house. And there's some like he just wrote the word pussy on a piece of paper. And that was like a treasure to him. But he did have a book called The Way of the Nudist. So and then when Arnold shows up, she all quickly hides it all. Just this sense of embarrassment. Another one of those ones that just captures one of those, how like you'll just have this perfect moment where you can't even describe why. The kids are playing Dracula, and Arna just climbs up into a tree, and it's beautiful. It's a spring night, and she just has this almost feeling of just ecstasy. Here's another one where Arna and Marlys are playing, hanging upside down from the laundry pole, and just how it's just the best thing in the world when you're 8. Some stupid thing like that. I love this one here. This it's that girl Teresa from earlier. Basically, you could tell Teresa's gonna be like a burnout, or what you guys call stoners on the West Coast. She's gonna be a bad girl, and she just spends all of her time with those caps, those exploding red cap papers, just stomping on them. And anyone who comes close to her, you know, she still spits on. Because she has a scar in her face, so she doesn't want anyone getting close to her. She's always covering her mouth. But we see Arnold's here. And this is just so when no one's around, she sometimes throws caps down to Arnold. And he pops them all for her while she watches. Every one of those perfect black bumps for her. We just see Arnold like shivering in this adoration for this girl. He obviously is just completely in love with her. I love this, his supine position of just like, he's shaking. It's amazing. Here's another one with Maybone. She has a slumber party. And just how Marlys is so in awe of her sister. Like, when you're 8, teenagers just seem like rock stars to you, you know? She always talks about how beautiful Maybone is, and she's so not the way Lynda Barry draws her. It's Lynda Barry's kind of like Aileen Kaminsky Crumb. Just almost everyone's really homely in her strips. They're downright hideous, a lot of the characters, but it makes them funnier. Just Marlys' glasses and that look on her face always cracks me up. Maybone's on her period, so she gets all the special treatment. It pisses off Marlys. Here's Marlys' beauty shop. And all these like things Marlys, she gives these lessons and stuff. And she's just such a little know-it-all. And she wants to boss everyone around, you know, and thinks she's the best at everything she does. Like, I'm the best hairstylist in the world. In her mind, everyone's thanking her, like, oh, thank you, Marlys, for being such a genius. You made my hair perfect. Even though she doesn't know how to cut hair at all. The gum of mystery. Someone's putting gum in all the jackets at school, and so it's a whodunit. Here's another one where teachers suck, where Arnold is so proud of his map he made using chewed up pieces of gum for each country in South America. And he brings it to school, and of course the teacher's like, this is unsanitary, throw it away. And look at his face. I love how she just says, that's why you should never mention South America to my brother. Oh, I love Lynda Barry so much. She's so good. Here's Freddy with his weird little science, growing mold. This is his little science experiments. He's such a freak. Some new neighbors, this elderly couple move in. All of her characters are so well realized in such a short space. That's the amazing thing about Ernie Pook's comic. 4 panels. And she basically tells these amazing short stories in most of them. Even when they're just silly, whatever, they're funny as hell. And they're very well realized and clever. But then some of them are just like, this is like a great short story. Aunt Leslie, the beautiful Anne, comes to visit, and they all fawn over her. Here we see Freddy. We're going to see this a lot, because Freddy's such a sensitive kid who loves nature. All the kids pick on him. He's just got a target on his back. There's a whole book about Freddy and kind of his mental decline. He kind of grows up to be a weirdo. This one's interesting how, the father left a long time ago. And just like Marlys, they have no father. Or he's not around. And they find a picture. Arnold finds a picture of Mom and Dad when they were young. And they're happy and they're smiling. It looks like they're laughing. And they are just so transfixed by this. And it's you can totally feel the palpable, oh man, I would love to see, you can tell how much they would love to go back in time and be there and see that. This one is a character named Dewey Munoz. He supposedly drew this comic, and he's one of the kids, I guess. He told it to Lynda Barry. And this is just about him going to a kung fu movie and hilariously describing the plot of this ridiculous movie from a kid's point of view. And look at these drawings. She really captures that, 8-year-old drawing style. He says, this guy suddenly can fly 50 feet in the air, and he keeps asking everyone, tell me where's long, low, funky tongue Dao? And the people say, I don't know. So his eyebrows go up in fury, and he shouts, liar! And karate chops them. And this is another one of those ones that's just beautiful poetry, even though she doesn't mess up the diction. It's still the words of an 8-year-old girl. And we see Arne here. She's watching her neighbor, an older teenager named Richard, and it's so obvious she's in love with him. He's playing basketball in his driveway, and she says the teenager named of Richard comes out late some nights to shoot baskets on the corner. You can watch him from my bedroom window, and she's just in reverence of him, and just this is just so it's a kid's vocabulary. But it's just beautiful poetry to me. Him jumping up on the corner, him jumping high and turning in the air under a street light with 1,000 million bugs flying around it, going wild, wild, wild. Oh man, she's so good. Here's Smoking World, which I remember when we were kids, it was before everyone smoked. So all kids, we were always finding things to look like cigarettes. Oh, if I put this crayon in my mouth, or this twig, and light it, it's almost like a cigarette. And we had candy cigarettes back then, and the gum ones. Here's Marlys. I guess Marlys a spelling whiz. She's always bragging about it. And I love this, how she fucked up once. She had a slip of the tongue at a spelling bee, and she wouldn't get off not the stage, but she wouldn't. The teacher was like, come on, Marlys, sit down. You lost. And Marlys is just going, do over, do over, do over. so she could never go to a spelling bee again because she freaked out so hard. Oh man, this one, Marlyse's first love. And this first one's from Arna's point of view. And it's well, this is her first crush. It's that guy Richard who plays basketball, so she's in love with him too. And apparently he has a thing for Maybone. He's there to see Maybone. And Marlys sees him and she's instantly in love because he swats her on the butt with his tennis racket. And she says, you want me to do the Mexican hat dance? And Richard says, sure. And look at this picture of Marlys cracks me up so much. She's so proud of herself. Look at her. She probably just looks like a spaz. But she's so thrilled. And she's so in love she doesn't care. Yeah. The way she says it, Maybone opens the window and says, Marlys, bug off. Leave him alone. And Arna says, but no, she couldn't. She couldn't. She couldn't. She just couldn't. And that's totally Marlys. She couldn't stop. Here's a Marlys one, drawn in a crude style. And this is poetry about teenagers, which is really interesting because when you're a kid and you got, teenagers in your family who are older than you, how teenagers are full of hormones, and one minute they're happy as hell, and the next minute they're crying and screaming. So it's like a child, a youngster like Marlyse's age who's like so perplexed. She's like, I don't understand these teenagers. Like, they're crazy. Marlys finds Maybone's diary and reads about her kind of messing around with some guy. And now it's from Maybone's point of view. And apparently this guy, Brian Bano, calls. And I guess he's kind of good looking because she's all like, ooh. She's on the phone with him for an hour. And he says, meet me at the park. And she goes to the park and she says, afterwards, walking home, I kept feeling like whoever even looked at me could tell what I just did. So she obviously did some sexy business with him. And she says, no way, never again. So it wasn't a good thing. And then she says, he didn't call and I didn't call him back for 11 days. And now the phone just rang, him saying, meet me up at the park again. I guess I'm going. Oh, that's so sad. Because she's so afraid that he might not like her if she doesn't do, everything. Maybone finds out about Marlys. Well, I'm sorry, Marlys told some kids. They told the older kids. And so now everyone knows that she went to the park with Brian Bano and fooled around. Which, of course, back then, it's like having a scarlet letter. So she's furious at Marlys. A little Marlys had to draw a girls lesson. This sad story about a neighbor dog who's the senile old lady who owns him. She thinks it's a baby, so she feeds him like ice cream and cake. And of course, we find out that this is the third dog she's had in 3 years. She keeps killing the dogs by feeding him this shit. Feeds them SpaghettiOs. So many of these are just how, like, when you're a kid, the stupidest, weirdest thing can be your favorite thing in the world. Your parents can buy you this great expensive toy. After one day, you're like, it was boring. But you do something stupid like put a wad of gum on a ballerina head where the head should be. And you and your friends are just like, this is so great. I love what a weirdo Arnold is. He's writing this total information of everything. That's the name of the book. He's just listing everything in the galaxy. Ping pong balls, Alfred on Batman, a water wiggle. And he's numbering them all. It's a scary run-in with a dog. Because, Arna loves dogs, but this dog, like, I remember this would happen. You'd, like, befriend a dog, a scary dog, and then they wouldn't let you go. You'd actually be petting them. I'm like, oh, it's working. But then when you want to leave, they're just like, Rrr. It's the scariest thing in the world because you can't. And finally, you have to extricate yourself. And Arna's very shaken. This is Marlyse's mom. I guess Marlyse's mom was very beautiful when she was younger. Talking about all the suitors she had, very handsome men who all went on to be successful businessmen, but she picked the loser, your deadbeat father. So it's just, we realize the mom is just she's a ball of bitterness, you know. This is Marlyse likes this boy only because he liked her first. And then he stopped liking her, which of course that's Arna's like, yeah, that's how it goes. When the boy liked her, he said, hey, I've got 25 cents. I'll buy you anything in the candy shop. And she picked all of her favorites, Red Hots, Jolly Rogers, Jawbreakers. And now she thinks it's because she picked all the wrong candy that he fell out of love with her. I love just like, it's such an 8-year-old thought to have. And then Arna says, as if there's even such a thing as picking the wrong candy. Marley, so it's summertime and we got some beach bingo. All the things you might see on a beach to play bingo with. Here's another one of those little, just capturing a beautiful moment when Marlyse and Arna are in the backyard. It's so hot, they're just running around their underwear, getting the laundry. And both their moms are inside and a certain song comes on the radio and they all get up to dance. They probably had a few beers in them. But I remember that, like, sometimes seeing your parents get a little daffy. Because my parents, you know, they didn't really, I don't know, they weren't that kooky. And, like, seeing them, like, maybe they had a few drinks so they're all dancing crazy. It's just, like, such a magical thing. Like, oh my God, that's my parents. They're having fun. And once again, she does this beautiful thing. And they're just outside in the dark watching their parents, kind of perplexed because they're not used to seeing their parents happy. And then they hear a zooming noise and look up to see a bottle rocket shoot suddenly over the roof of the house, freezing everything still with perfect light. She picks the perfect words, even though she has a very limited vocabulary because she has to write like an 8-year-old. She can't say like luminescent or whatever. Here's a fishing with Marlyse. Here's a Marlyse's auto bingo when you're on a road trip. Bad smell at cow farm. Motel that looks like teepees. Fire in the ashtray. This one's another sad one. Marlyse is like doing this plant experiment. She's like putting like milk duds in the soil. She's putting Coca-Cola. She's trying to do all these experiments with plants. Like, oh, if I feed them things, maybe there'll be some mutated thing. And Maybone is the one narrating this one, the older sister. And she says, I told Marlyse that she was torturing these plants and all the plants were going to die because of her. And what I said came true. It came true. It came true. Marlyse, I'm sorry. It came true. So even though she was telling her sister not to do this, she definitely did not feel any chidden for it. She was like, just felt so sorry for Marlyse because she was devastated. Marlyse gets to be at a parade, and I love this how just Arna and Arnold are just so jealous, and they kind of hate Marlyse. They're like, screw Marlyse. But then when they see her in the parade, they can't stop yelling, hooray for Marlyse. It's almost, they can't even control themselves. Another just beautiful capturing a moment, the last kickball game before school starts. Even the older kids who can drive are there. And right, everyone's got to leave. Their moms are all calling them, but they want to have one more kick. Just one more last kick in a kickball game for summer. And then all the lights come on as the last catch is made. The street lights come on. This one I would love to see if somebody made a film of this. It's those kind of interpretive dances that kids in the 70s thought were really deep. And I believe this is Arna. Oh no, it's Maybone. Her and her teenage friends are, like, we're trying to represent civilization, man, violence, war, pollution with our choreography. Oh man. It's about that a magical feeling of staying up all night. So they make it till morning, and then we started to hear the birds, 10,000 birds, and the light in her room turned pale, pale blue. Marley, sorry, this is Maybone actually. So the art style is different. Talking about hairstyles. Here's one of the ones drawn from Marlys, you know, drawn by a little kid. A lot of the, I don't know if maybe Lynda Barry just realized it's easier to draw this way. So there's a lot of these strips as this, as the comic progresses, as the book goes on. Visit the planet of Marlys. She's such an egomaniac, Marlys. The origin of Thanksgiving. It says written by an 8-year-old. And life after death. Talking about how great heaven's going to be. Of course, Marlys is like the queen of heaven. Everyone loves her. Oh, this one is... So Marlys really has her first love. Like, this is a real crush. And she's just ecstatic. All the songs on the radio speak to her. And she's just so happy and just so gaga. And now, this one's from Maybone's... I think they're both from Maybone's point of view, the older sister. And she's kind of just like, oh my God, she's being so... It's crazy just watching her, like how much in love she is. Everything's good to her. Lint balls are beautiful, and old gum in the street is beautiful because she's in love. And then I love this. Maybone says, "Our Father who art in heaven," it's her first time, and she doesn't know that feeling goes away. So please, Father, in all your merciful wisdom, would you please just keep your mouth shut a little longer? Oh, it's so true and sad. And then, of course, in the strip called Why Did He? The crash happened, and it turns out this kid Kevin is just using her because she would give him a Twinkie every day, and in front of his other friends he actually mocks her. And for the first time, Marlys has nothing to say, just quiet and staring down without moving. And this is Maybone is noticing this, and just she's crushed too. So, but then Kevin. Marlys starts drawing kind of big Ed Daddy Roth type pictures of hot rods for Kevin, I guess to win him back, and he loves them. And it's so pathetic. He basically says, "Hey, could you keep drawing me these? And I'm gonna tell people that I drew them, so you got to keep it a secret." And she's like, "Sure." She's so happy to, you know, whatever. Supplicate herself, and she even like is through, like she always leaves a perfect spot empty so he can sign his name. Oh, so sad. Maybone's trying to convince him, like, this guy's just using you, but then he's been giving her drawings of nature. Apparently he doesn't know how to draw hot rods, but he loves to draw nature. So just an interesting little thing. Here's Marlys's newspaper. It's just kind of cute, like her making this little newspaper. Of course, it's very Marlys-centric. And as you can see, we have more and more of these strips from Marlys's point of view. New Year's resolutions. Dancing Marlys. How to be groovy. Teaching good manners, which are just ridiculous. This one's interesting. Marlys' Guide to Queers. And she's just saying how queers are great. My uncle is queer and his boyfriend, and we hung out. So she's definitely, before there was a term, she's like super ally already. She's only 8. She says, "Personally, I like queers. So far, I only know 2 queers, and I'm looking for more queers." That's so cute. This one's interesting because it's Maybone, and Marlys is being such a fucking spaz and so full of crazy joy that even Maybone is just like, oh man, I fucking love my little sister. Because that's rare. Usually she's just like, get out of my room. Fucking brat. More Marlys strips. I wish I could read every one of these guys. Man, this is going to be a long video. Sorry. I think I'm not even halfway through. Here's a Freddy one. Of course, it's about bats. And it's just crazy. Vampire bats are real. Here's a letter. I guess Marlys moved away. Because Arna's saying she got a letter from Marlys. Here's one about Arnold being in love. Of course, he deals with it in a very weird way. As if he's some science fiction character reporting to his superior, reporting on his crush on this girl. There she is again, Jeanette. So this girl has a hair lip. And she always covers her mouth, just like that Teresa girl. And just Arnold is completely fascinated by it, transfixed by her hair lip. He thinks it's the most beautiful thing in the world. It has a rabbit puppet. And I think, did I miss something here? I will never stop loving you, Janet. I will not ever stop loving you, Jeanette. He just writes it over and over. Some more Marlys' crazy advice columns. I think this is Freddy. These ones I love, where it's like, oh, this is Arnold, and he's writing this terrible book report, and I love like the teacher just their comments like, Arnold, come see me, C-. I did not ask for illustrations. She's just like, just hates it. The next one's an F. Arnold, this is not what I asked for, and you know it. The assignment was to write a biography of a historical figure, and he talks about the Morlocks from Time Machine. This is Arnold and this feud he has with a teacher who really does seem to hate him. I remember there were teachers who, like, I look back and, like, they hated my guts. I wasn't just being a dumb kid. They were really had it in for me, you know? Or another kid, not necessarily me, but there were some teachers who definitely were, like, kind of dicks. So we see Arnold is, like, kind of becoming a little ball of hate. And then we get to this whole storyline here where Arnold, I believe it's Arnold, is hanging out with this kid named Jim. Jim, this is his sister. She looks, it's like one of the few beautifully looking people that Lynda Barry draws. Apparently she's dating this guy named Hector Malonga. And I don't know if it's some kind of maybe slight incestual feelings, but Jim cannot handle this. So he's kind of a pyromaniac, little Jim. So he's planning on, like, burning down Hector Malonga's house. I mean, he's a disturbed kid. He's been saving gasoline. He spies on his sister and Hector, and he's just, like, shaking with rage just seeing his sister in love with this guy, making out with him. Oh, of course, Arnold's in love with her, too. Arnold's completely in love with her, but in a less sick, obsessive way. So he basically wants Jim to help. Jim wants Arnold to help him. And at the last minute, Arnold actually, he can't go through with it. Not only that, but he sees Hector Malonga at the bus stop, and he tells him, he says, hey, that kid, your girlfriend's little brother, he's gonna, he wants to burn down your house. So it turns out there's a fire on the block, but it's not Hector Malanga's house. Hector was waiting because of the warning that Arnold gave him, and him and his friends chased off Jim. So Jim burnt down another house since he couldn't burn Hector Malanga's. Turns out there was an old lady inside and she died. So now Jim, of course, is going to juvie, and they want to question Arnold because he's kind of an accomplice. But luckily he gets off, but still, his mother's heartbroken. And Hector Malanga gets shipped off because he didn't have his green papers, his green card. So, they looked into him because of all this, and so now nobody has any love. And I believe this is Arnold. And it sounds like Arnold's really trying to process this shit. He's just kind of freaked out. I mean, you can imagine. She has these weird, interesting, almost like a neon sign logos. Here's Arna, kind of a running Arna thing where there's this popular girl in school, and she's just a piece of shit. But it's that weird thing, the way girls who aren't popular just think girls who are popular, if they just give them any attention, it's just like, oh my God, it's like a goddess has blessed me. So she loans her this beloved necklace of hers. Of course, the girl doesn't return it, and she can't really do anything about it. Here's some more Marlys stuff, telling us how to live our lives. More of Arnold being a big ball of hate because his parents wouldn't stop to get this toy on a road trip. This one is, this is drawn by her, I believe at the time, her fiance. Well, I only know that because the next strip it says, Kevin Kawula drew last week's strip. Then again, it might have not been this strip, because it kind of looks like Lynda Barry. So maybe that's not reprinted in here. So forget what I just said, never mind. More of this kid style, this naive art. Some of these are so funny. I don't even know why. It's just, I don't know if this is Arnold or I think it's Freddy. He's pissing off Arnold by mispronouncing all the vampires' names. He's saying Smagula and the Plob, the Kolfman, Whackula, and it's driving him crazy. He's just chasing his brother around like, stop it, stop it. Here's Freddy again, defending nature. Marly's Guide to Band-Aids. Marly's Guide to Mud. Marly's Guide to Being Popular, which she's not very good at. She has no clue. She just thinks if we go around complimenting people and giving them candy, everyone will love you. And giving hot dogs to dogs. Marly's Guide to Running in the Sprinkler. Maybone has a new look. Once again, we just see like to these younger kids, she's just like this other species, Maybone, because she's a teenager, an older teenager. captures so many things that I forgot about when I was little. How like there'd be some neighbor kid who you hated, and then all of a sudden they just come over and start talking to you, and you're like, you're my best friend now, or vice versa. Just little anecdotes, most of these are. The mom buys a second-hand vacuum cleaner that makes crazy noises, smells funny. Talking about the fumes she likes to smell. Her regrets in life. Now we have scientific Marlys. You can tell that Lynda Barry loves to just read books about nature and stuff. And because a lot of these are just like, it's probably Lynda Barry just read about convoluta riscofensis, this kind of small single-celled organism. And so Marlys is just telling us about it in her childlike diction, so it's funny. Here's a bunch of insects. Marlys really likes insects. The lungfish. So a lot of these are by Freddie too, because Freddie's the nature freak. I like this. These are medical conditions. Tragic name syndrome, where the parents didn't think long enough about what they named their baby. Wadley, Melvinette, Brainerd, Squidly, Narlene, and Weenus. I wonder if those are real names, if anyone's ever named that. Here's some more of these bug facts. These are all kind of fun too. I mean, they're funny as hell, but she also like points out these really interesting facts about insects that are like pretty amazing. More of these showing off her ballet moves, her dorky ballet moves. Here's more of these as yoga. She likes yoga because you don't really have to exercise to stretch. You don't have to really do much. At least that's what Marlys thinks. You just kind of lay on the floor and wiggle around. That's her yoga. Camping tips. New songs to jump rope by. Hey Geraldo, what'd you have to eat? Salmonella chicken and E. coli meat. That was very of its time, the late 80s. Actually, I think we're into the 90s by now. Oh God, we're in the late 90s at this point. If you notice, like, we never see strips like this anymore. You know, like the classic Lynda Barry style with all the lines like this. That's kind of, I noticed that goes away in the 90s. Every now and then you'll see one, but for the most part, it's like more rough hewn, even when it's not from the child's point of view. These are interesting too, though. They get rid of the 4-panel grid, which I think, have everybody seen that? Okay, it's right around here. Almost every single one is just like this. Bam, 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 bam. Now we're getting almost like more of a page, of a full page. Yeah, Marlys is such a pain in the ass, but some of these, she does shit where you're, like, I would just be like, hooray for Marlys. You're awesome. I love that you did that. National Bug Radio. Once again, just telling us about bugs. International Bug Month. the bug pole. Cutest larva. Biggest flirt. The firefly. More bug stuff. I think Lynda Barry was really just, she should have been an entomologist. She really seems fascinated by this stuff. Now we're talking about microbes. Her and Freddie. This is a pretty funny story, which I'm sure Lynda Barry just read this story in some old book and said, oh, I gotta, because that's all it is, this interesting story. So Trailer Park Marlys. So Marlys moves to a trailer park with Freddie and her mom. And so now we get to meet all these different characters. Look how different the art is here. I mean, this is now 97, 98, I believe. And so different. I don't think I wasn't reading it in the paper anymore, so I never saw these strips. I saw the early ones. And these are all just great little stories, basically, Marlys is telling. As you can see, more panels per page. She's really utilizing the page, getting more into it. Here's a little homage to Lewis Carroll, and, well, I can't think of that artist's name right now. The guy who was famous for drawing Alice in Wonderland. Those drawings that became the kind of the blueprint of how we think of those characters. And it's Marlys talking to this neighbor. And she makes a lot of kind of like trailer park humor. Like, here's the trailer park mail order. And just all the things that trailer park people would buy, you know? Like those fucking blankets that are like, God, they're just completely scratchy and they're made of like, I don't know, recycled fiberglass. I don't know who the fuck would ever want those. I've had to sleep with those some nights, though. I don't know where it was, but they're gross. Trailer park holiday helpers. Making Christmas tree ornaments out of cigarette butts. Talking about all the various pets of the trailer park. More of the mail order catalog of all the things you can buy. And so basically Marlys is just going around meeting her neighbors. And just like in the, before she moved there, just, her neighbors now are pretty colorful. Antique trailer park show. This is with this neighbor kid named Wee Wee. I love these ones with Wee Wee because he gets really angry at Marlys. He does this book report about the Abominable Snowman on their book review show. And Marlys says, oh, this is obviously a fake out. And he's just furious. She's like, no, it's not. It's real. More of this like nature stuff, talking about animals. I don't know if they just aren't focusing on it because these are the Marlys strips. I think the Maybone strips continued in the old vein. But we're not getting as many of those, you know, like kind of poetic, almost profound ones. These are pretty much just gags, and they're pretty damn funny. So, you know, I'm not really complaining. But I did like the balance, how she'd have a hilarious strip and then like something that would make you almost be like, damn, that's sad. I do like this one where Marlys and Freddie are talking about like the one kind of art they hate is those caricature artists. Because, you know, they always make the head so big. They're like, why? What is the deal with the huge head and a tiny body? Would you draw Jesus that way? And Jesus is playing basketball with a giant head. That's funny. Marlys giving lots of advice, of course. Fucking know-it-all. More of the trailer park mail order. A lot of stuff about dogs. Man, this art is getting really ratty. Look at this one. This looks like a rough draft that Lynda Barry was going to then ink. There's a series of this, there's this poodle whose name is Fred Milton. And he's a poet. He actually talks. So there's a bunch of these where he does this beatnik poetry. I wasn't that thrilled with these. I don't think it's that funny, the shtick. Because it's just like nonsense poetry. But it's kind of interesting that it's almost like Poochie the dog, just introducing this random speaking dog character. Because, I mean, they never really had fantasy elements in this comic. Except in their imaginations. But it seems like this dog is... Well, it's probably Marlys imagining it, you know? So lots of Fred Milton ones. And so then, I guess, Arna's mother just basically ran off with some new dude and dropped Arna off with Marlys and her family. Of course, Marlys' mom's pissed off. Because I guess, she's always been like, my sister's a tramp. Who should she hooked up with this time? And we see that Arna's definitely become very shy and quiet. She's changed. Probably from having a shitty mom, And we really see the positive side of Marlys, how she's just totally trying to cheer up Arna, and it kind of works. Like, Marlys has such a lust for life. Even if she's obnoxious, she also has this amazing joie de vivre. So she's always trying to cheer up Arna. Because Arna really seems like a downer, she's really... And so now we're back to Arna narrating, talking about, how strange and new everything is. But of course she's miserable. Her mom basically ditched her. And she's wetting the bed. So Marlys' mom makes her sleep in the bathtub with an air mattress. But she eventually, kind of fits in with the family. This is a series of mythological kind of jokes. The Cyclops and Medusa, makeovers for the Medusa, giving them nice haircuts. A charm school for this mythical creature. These are pretty funny. And here's comic book Marlys. This is just about like some groovy early 70s, going to the lake. All the teenagers are there rocking out to their music from their car stereos. And just like how magical some of those nights could be. But now they're back in school. And Arna's not fitting in very good. Once again, Arna seems to be in love with these beautiful twins. And the teacher's getting really mad at her. She can tell. She's like, stop looking at those boys. This is much more fascinating when I'm teaching. And Arna says, Mrs. Quirt is so wrong about so many things. And I think she is. Here's Mrs. Quirt again. Drawn like a fucking monster. And so then finally they move out of the trailer park. And it sounds like all the cousins and both moms move in together. They get a big house and they decide to all move in together. Here's Marlys again being just a total brat. Just can't accept when she doesn't get her way. Maybone gets the upstairs attic room just like Greg Brady in the later seasons of Brady Bunch. And she loves it because she can crawl out to the roof and smoke her cigarettes. Typical teenager, she blasts her music too loud and it's driving the mother crazy. One night the moms go out to get drunk and so they have some fun night, all the kids by themselves. Once again, we see that Maybone's room is this amazing sanctum sanctorum, and when the girls when she allows them to hang out, it's just magical for them. Talking about like the first snow of winter, how exciting it is. Sleigh riding. Getting back to some mythology. This really happy St. Bernard that Arna wants to pet so bad, but the owner is this mean old man who's always like, get the fuck out of here, you dumb kids. You always want to pet my dog. But she's hopeful that the dog keeps wagging its tail. He seems as excited to see her, and maybe one day she's hopeful they'll get to be pals. Here's Freddy again, poor Freddy. He's just too gentle for this world. But Arna's going through all the people, all of the people she knows, and then she says, and two, there are the background people, the ones like me who are just naturally see-through, except sometimes to dogs. I thank God for dogs. And then we have a little Valentine episode, Angel Marlys. Some more beautiful end papers with a little about the author. A little paragraph with a nice drawing by Lynda Barry. And she's very happy that she could finally make this book. Have all the Marley strips in one spot because she loves that character. As do I. So there you go, guys. The Greatest of Marlys by Lynda Barry. I'm sorry I took so long, but I wanted to even make this longer and just tell you half the strips. But I had so much fun the past 2 days rereading this. I was just laughing out loud in my bed, and actually almost sometimes I get teary-eyed and be like, oh my God, that's so sad. So highly recommended if you've never read Lynda Barry before. I definitely prefer the earlier stuff. I think the strip started in the mid-'80s. And to me, that stuff is like just really outstanding, like up there with some of the greatest comics ever written. And but still, the later ones are pretty damn good. So I hope during it quarterly, I would love to just read every one in order. Kind of annoying that this is just like a greatest hits. I want to read them all in order. So maybe one day that'll happen. But thanks for watching, guys, and I hope to see you next time here at the herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies.